Xbox is giving away free months of Xbox Game Pass, and we have a lot of information to talk about in terms of Xbox Game Studios and a potential rumor for Killer Instinct. So before I jump into this is my Sunday video. As you know, generally on Sunday I have Plumecast, but I mentioned earlier this week that I would not be having a Plumecast this week. I should be back with that next week. So here it's just a bonus news video instead. So if you live in India, you're going to be getting up to 8 free months of Xbox Game Pass because of a mandate that is coming out that has to do with recurring payments. Now, if you are a current subscriber, you're going to get 8 months of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for free added on top of your subscription. And if you are a first-time subscriber, they're going to be offering 7 months of free Xbox Game Pass. Now, like I said, this has to do with a mandate and the Reserve Bank. And here's exactly what Xbox said on this. The Reserve Bank of India recently added new requirements for processing recurring transactions through the RBI mandate, intended to enhance the safety and security of these transactions. We at Microsoft are updating our payment systems to enable recurring payments in accordance with these requirements. In the meantime, to help avoid disruption, we have added 8 months of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate to your account at no additional charge, so you don't have to worry about making recurring payments during this time and can just enjoy playing games. So this is very interesting. Obviously, it's going to take them a while to update whatever is going on with this requirement to make sure that people can make those payments and continue to access Xbox Game Pass. So instead of cutting it off and making the changes and then re-implementing them, they're just giving people free months of Game Pass. That makes sense because they don't want people to stop playing and then kind of forget about Game Pass, and then once they can start paying again, not sign up because they moved on to something else. So this will keep them locked in to the ecosystem for that time. But hey, it's a pretty cool perk if you are in India, and you should be receiving these messages on your Xbox when you log in or whatever. Now, Game Pass in India, I think I've talked about this in previous videos, has a huge opportunity there. We're seeing the Xbox Series S doing well, and Game Pass has games that Indian gamers play a lot of, like FIFA used to have GTA on there, and there are other games similar to that that will have access to those games on Xbox Game Pass, meaning that they can go into a store and instead of purchasing, for example, they still purchase a lot of PS4s over there, they'll see that they can get an Xbox Series S and Xbox Game Pass for a very similar price, and they'll jump into that to play the games that they want. But all in all, this is just a great bonus if you're in India. Let me know if you are in India and you got this message on your Xbox and if you're getting access to those free months. So on the recent Xbox 2 podcast, we got a lot of information about Xbox Game Studios games, specifically the Outer Worlds 2 and Avowed. Now, originally just reported that 125 people were working on Avowed and 120 people were working on the Outer Worlds 2, but then recently went down to correct and say that he made a mistake and misspoke on the podcast, as it is a live podcast, and says that there are about 100 people working on Avowed and 70 people working on the Outer Worlds 2. Now, this is pretty cool because this is not including external support contractors or anything like that. This is all internal members of Xbox Game Studios and Obsidian working on these games. And that's a pretty big number, especially for games like the Outer Worlds 2 that seem to be very, very early in production, meaning that we may be getting and seeing more of these games a lot sooner than we think, and just more people working on it, more chance to create the visions that they want to create in the specific time period that they are looking to hit. But that wasn't it. There's a lot of information that he went over here. For example, with Avowed, the spell animations shown in the trailer that looked really cool are all in game, so that's exciting. Compulsion Games is still working on a fantasy third-person action adventure, and this was something that Clobril had claimed previously. And when it comes to Obsidian, this is really cool to hear. They are planning on releasing a game every year for the next 7 years. So I mean, Grounded isn't in full release yet, so we have that. Then we got Avowed, the Outer Worlds 2, and then there are 4 other years or 4 other games, I guess you could say, that we haven't heard of yet that they are going to be working on and making and releasing, which is really awesome to hear because Obsidian is a great developer from everything that they really put out. Fallout New Vegas, the recent Outer Worlds, and I've enjoyed pretty much every game from them, even Grounded, where I've been playing a little bit of that, and it's just such a interesting world. There's so much potential with that game, and I think it's going to continue to grow and be big. As we know, IO Interactive is working on that Project Dragon game, which we don't know too much about yet, but apparently it is fully confirmed and greenlit, and it is going to be an exclusive Xbox ecosystem, Xbox Game Studios publishing game. Hellblade 2, much bigger in scope than the first one, which is not a surprise with just how much more resources Ninja Theory has for that game, and how many more people are going to be working on it, and all that kind of stuff. And they have a lot more power with the Xbox Series X to make this game bigger, less linear. So that's pretty cool to see. I'm excited to see more about Hellblade 2. We're apparently going to be seeing more about it at the Game Awards this year in December. When it comes to State of Decay 3, this is a game that I'm still waiting to hear more about. I played State of Decay 2. I enjoy the game. I enjoy what State of Decay is all about. And one of the things with State of Decay 2 is that there isn't really a huge narrative element to it, but apparently with State of Decay 3, they're saying here that State of Decay 3 is intended to have a bigger emphasis on the narrative and your connection to the characters. They just want people to feel for the characters and make them feel less like tools. So that'll be cool to see what they do, how many stories they'll have implemented within that game specifically, and how deep those narratives go on each character. I think there definitely is a lot of potential to do that, because as you know, you're playing as certain characters, you're building up your base, and then sometimes they can die and you have to move on to somebody new. So you'll get that attachment to that character. You're going to want to keep them alive, and if they die, you'll probably feel sad or happy depending on how you feel about the character. So Xbox Publishing is also apparently going to be publishing a title by a small indie studio that makes a bunch of popular games, but Jez won't leak who it is because he believes it may be revealed soon. So that's cool. I love indie games. I love when they put a bunch of cool ones onto Xbox Game Pass, and recently what they've been doing with the Humble games coming to Xbox Game Pass, been tons of great games coming from that. So we'll have to see what's next in the indie scene. All right, a couple more things here. Apparently Xbox is working with a Finnish studio called Mainframe on a cloud native game, and if we go to the Mainframe website here, there's not that much there. It just kind of talks about some of the articles about them, and you don't know really what else they've done before. But it does say here on their website, it is kind of cut off, but it says mixing the best of AAA, MMO, and mobile gaming into a social sandbox playable on any screen, which obviously directly sounds like a cloud-based game. And then finally, Jez also talks about two new project codenames called Project Shaolin and Project Belfry, which obviously we don't know what that means, what those games are. We'll hear more about those in the future. But yeah, that's a ton of information to kind of take in, think about, coming from Jez and the Xbox 2 podcast. But that wasn't the only kind of big rumor that came out recently, and this is one here from the Xbox Era podcast, and it again has to do with Killer Instinct, a game we have been waiting to hear more about. A lot of people want to see it added as a new game into the Xbox Game Studios ecosystem / Xbox Game Pass, have that really awesome first party Xbox fighting game. And it seems like it could be coming to fruition, as this is, like I said, rumor from the Xbox Era podcast and Special Ed saying that he speculates that it could be Enway, who created Power Rangers, or Dimps, who created Street Fighter 4, that will be working on an upcoming sequel to Killer Instinct. And that isn't surprising that they would look elsewhere outside of Xbox Game Studios to do this, because Phil Spencer has said he wants to bring Killer Instinct back. He hasn't given up on it. It's just finding the right studio to work on it and the right people who have the time and the resources to do it. But anyways, guys, that's it for me. Let me know what you think about all this stuff. Let me know if you're in India and you've been receiving these messages for your free Xbox Game Pass months. And let me know what you think about all of that information from Jez, from the Xbox 2 podcast, and just with everything going on with Xbox Game Studios and the rumors about Killer Instinct. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here, you enjoyed what you saw throughout this video, I'd really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button to help this channel grow, help grow this community, so we can have great conversations in the comments below. Thank you again for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.